Hey guys, this is podcast number 5. We are the Iron Disciples. In this podcast, we talk about bodybuilding, dating, finances, exploring these topics from a biblical standpoint, how to do these things as Christian men.
Woo! Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
So today we're going to have you guys come be a part of our Iron Disciple family, not just in the talk that we have, but in the study. And I think the study is what kind of binds us together as Christians. And sisters and brothers, as we delve into this word was given to us to study. It's old, so it does require some work, and we do this every other Saturday at our meet. So welcome. Let's do some digging today together.
We're going to read a chapter, Matthew, and then we're going to go through the Bible notes and dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah. All right, boys, let's open with the prayer. Get it going.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father, for bringing us together today to dig into your word. The gift of your word is incredible as it feeds so many of us throughout all these ages and continues to feed us. We pray that your hand be upon us as we share it, and that only your word be spoken, none of our own, and that you will shine through and help us to discover more through it. And thank you so much, Lord, for these men here and the people listening. In your awesome name, Jesus. Amen.
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 Okay, so we're going to jump right in.
First book of the New Testament.
Right on.
I was
Matthew.
thinking, for the people that don't know us, we should introduce ourselves. So I'm Mike Mulvaney.
Good.
Yeah. And
doing,
good
Mike?
luck telling these two apart. They're twins, so if you remember their names and can pick who is who, well
Sorry.
done.
Maybe you can teach my mom to get us right. Great.
Confuse us with the dogs.
Yeah.
Joe Creation.
And John Creation. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. If you got a Bible, open it up. If you got an app, just get that sucker going. We're going to start reading Matthew chapter 1. Okay?
Starting out with some genealogy.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
It's the good stuff, guys.
Got your tongue warmed up for this
And
one?
we're not skipping
Tongues
any of
almost-
this.
Cow
Yeah.
now, brown cow.
Yeah. Do the
Rains in Spain.
pretty lady stuff.
So we start with the chapter
Sorry.
itself, and
Yep.
then John, who put some amazing effort into study or just filling in the context basically for us. And so we'll read through the chapter, and then he has notes that we'll go through as well. And it helps round everything out, because reading this stuff raw without full context can leave you confused a little bit.
That's
Raw
right.
dog in the Bible it's not easy.
It's good to start raw dogging it. I mean, there's definitely that entry point for us all where it's just like that subjective uptake to whatever you read.
And it depends the book too.
True.
Totally.
Like you can read Proverbs and you don't need
You don't.
context.
It's like one sentence,
So
little
true.
gems, and
Yeah.
And a lot of the Bible is that. But this stuff is a genealogy, and we wonder why it's there. So we're going to find out why it's there, guys. Why is this boring genealogy here in the first chapter of the gospel?
Yeah, that's the exciting part, right? Is you see these things and you're like, oh, there's a reason for this.
Hey, it's not
Cool.
boring anymore.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of exciting.
So let's get in with the cool stuff, the fun genie. And believe it or not, just as a little note, back in the day, this used to be the fun stuff. Like Jews and especially Jews, they would get wrapped up in genealogies, and that was fun for them. They'd spend a lot of time doing that. Matter of fact, Timothy was warned against getting too wrapped up in these kind of conversations. And here we are just kind of skipping through them. So, all right, I'll start off here. The book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Isaac the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers. And Judah the father of Perez, and Zerah by Tamar, and Perez the father of Hezron, and Hezron the father of Ram.
Ram.
And Ram the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab the father of Nahashon, and Nahashon the father of Salmon.
Salmon.
This looks like salmon to me.
Salmon.
And Salmon I know that's wrong. And Salmon the father of Boaz by Rahab, and Boaz the father of Obed by Ruth, and Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David the king. And David was the father of Solomon by the wife of Uriah, and Solomon the father of Rehoboam, and Rehoboam the father of Abijah, and Abijah the father of Asaph, and Asaph the father of Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat the father of Joram, and Joram the father of Uzziah, and Uzziah the father of Jotham, and Jotham the father of Ahaz, and Ahaz the father of Hezekiah, and Hezekiah the father of Manasseh, and Manasseh the father of Amos, and Amos the father of Josiah, and Josiah the father of Jeconiah and his brothers at the time of the deportation to Babylon. And after the deportation of Babylon, Jeconiah was the father of Shealtiel, and Shealtiel the father of Zerubbabel, and Zerubbabel the father of Abuid, and Abuid the father of Eliakim, and Eliakim the father of Azor.
Come on, John.
And Azor the father of Zadok, and Zadok the father of Achim, and Achim the father of Eluid, and Eluid the father of Eleazar, and Eleazar the father of Matan, and Matan the father of Jacob. Okay, I recognize Jacob. And Jacob the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom Jesus was born, who is called Christ. So all the generations from Abraham to David were 14 generations, and from David to the deportation to Babylon 14 generations, and from the deportation to Babylon to the Christ 14 generations. Now the birth of Christ, Jesus Christ, took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. And her husband Joseph, being a just man and unwilling to put her to shame, resolved to divorce her quietly. But as he considered these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as your wife, for that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God is with us. When Joseph woke from sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took his wife, but knew her not until she had given birth to a son, and he called his name Jesus. So that's chapter 1, boys.
Wow.
You worn out
Yes.
after all those names that you can't pronounce?
God, dude, it's like gymnastics for my tongue.
It's rooting for
Starting to go cross-eyed reading those. Like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, for
It's a good
learning
workout.
how,
Yeah, no
forgetting
kidding,
how to
man.
read English.
My tongue was forgetting what it was doing. Just
great.
spell them out. I'm
That's
hooked
why
on
we got
phonics.
down to Joe's and John's and Mike's. Forgot
They're
that.
like, nobody's got time for those
That
names.
one amid the babble, like it's like 4 names in one. It's like,
Can't do this. Just having a couple
Woo.
drinks and be like,
yeah,
not
but
happening, dude.
His dad must have, yeah. Okay, so
now,
everybody, go ahead.
yeah, so we got the notes now. We'll put them on the screen, provided we can figure that out. But,
Right.
yeah, we go through kind of the terms that you see in this. So for anyone kind of new to what some of the terms like Gentile are, or kind of who some people are, like Abraham or King David, we just give the full context of that in advance, and then we go into kind of an overview.
Right. We like to start off with the terms just so that if there's anything in question for you, we can answer that before we get into the notes.
Defining terms. Let's do it.
This is the fun stuff, guys.
The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 1. Gospel. The good news, the story of Jesus Christ and the teachings therein, namely salvation by professing Jesus Christ as eternal Lord and Savior by confessing sins, accepting his grace and exhibiting changed heart and behavior. Synoptic. Presenting or taking the same or common view. Genealogy. An account of the descent of a person, family, or group from an ancestor or from older forms. Covenant, a written agreement or promise usually under a seal between 2 or more parties, especially for the performance of some action. Gentile, person of a non-Jewish nation or of a non-Jewish faith. A Christian is distinguished from a Jew. Trinity, the unity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit as the person of God. Abraham, Abraham's first name was Abram. He was renamed Abraham by God to mark his covenant to him. God's covenant to Abraham stated that he would be the father of many nations, including the Jews. Abraham is routinely praised for his faith throughout the scripture. King David, second king of the Jews, he is deeply flawed, but praised for his love for God. God also made a covenant with David, stating that the Messiah would come from his lineage. Some quick terms there.
Yep.
Yeah, and the synoptic term, I was going to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to explain kind of why that's in there, because that's not actually in the passage, but it's usually termed as the synoptic gospels, right?
Right. And so, like, some of these terms, as you'll find, they're not always part of the of what you read in the chapter. Some of these terms are reconciling vernacular that are in the notes that are describing further what's going on there. So, synoptic describes the first three gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And it talks about them being the same. So as you look at the actual definition of synoptic, it says presenting or taking the same or common view. So those three gospels have many times the same stories that they're getting different perspectives from.
That's right.
And it's really amazing because you're getting a 360-degree look at these stories from the different points of interest that the writers had, as well as just their perspective as these stories were either handed down to them or as they saw them in person. So that word, if it comes up and somebody says the synoptic gospels, what you should begin to understand as you read them is they're very much the same. They're a lot more similar than, say, John, which stands out. It's written completely differently. So that's a good point, Mike. And there's going to be several other terms that are not in the actual literature of the Bible, but we use to try and describe it.
Okay.
So to start with the overview then, the Gospel of Matthew was written by Matthew, a former tax collector, one of the 12 apostles. He wrote this gospel primarily to persuade Jewish people that Jesus was the Messiah. And then why start with genealogy? The genealogy in Matthew is a genealogy of Joseph's family. Those covenants and promises were inherited through these family lines. The most important promise God gave Israel was to bring a Messiah, a Savior for the world through the Jewish nation, specifically through King David's bloodline. With this in mind, you can see why it was of extreme importance for the Jewish people to maintain a certain understanding of who was truly Jewish. The genealogy records were used for that very purpose.
Right. And as you see the author's point and his desired audience, Matthew was writing for Jews. So he knew that if he didn't start off with an exhaustive genealogy, they would immediately doubt his story. So that's why it's all there.
First things first.
Right.
Got to validate the man.
That's right.
Did he come from King David's nuts or not?
That's right. That's what they wanted to know.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing it.
That's right.
And then why does Abraham come after David when Abraham was the forefather of David? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I wondered that.
Yeah, they are in this order because of the Davidic covenant is uniquely Jewish. It is for the Jewish people, whereas the Abrahamic covenant is for all peoples. He puts the Jewish covenant first and the one that covers the Gentiles second.
Again, because of his desired demographic. He's targeting the Jews.
And then why did Matthew's genealogy skip some men while including women in the genealogy? 5 kings in Jesus' family line are missing while 4 women have been added, which was uncommon. We might think that missing names would invalidate Matthew's genealogy, but the practice of skipping a generation here or there in genealogies was common in Judaism. Jews understood that jumping over a generation didn't invalidate a genealogy so as long as the other names were accurate. For example, if I skipped your grandfather in your family tree, but I included your great-grandfather and father correctly, then your genealogy is still accurate.
Right.
And then notice that the 4 women inserted into the list were all Gentile women, 5 including Mary. Tamar and Rahab were Canaanites. Ruth was Moabite. Bathsheba was a Hittite. Matthew includes 4 Gentile women in Jesus' genealogy to testify that Jesus fulfills God's promise to Abraham to save Gentiles as well.
Right.
Awesome.
And that's a really cool point
really
because
cool.
it's hard to read those names and be like, okay, is that male or female? Like we have John, Mike, and Joe. Whereas like if we heard of Brittany or a Sarah, we'd immediately be like, that's a woman. So they included these women, and it's beautiful because it's showing not only because, okay, so for a while the Jews thought that salvation, well, they knew it would be for the Gentiles. Using the feminine to show that it was for the Gentiles is a big power move too, because we're talking about Mary. We're talking about a woman, a mother of Christ, right? And so he's invoking these females to Gentile females, even furthermore, to show the purpose of females, how important they are. And he included them right along the males, which was highly different for the way that the genealogies usually were carried out at the time. And it's a testimony to our faith seeing equally between the male and the female. Even back then, they saw it that way.
Why a virgin birth? This goes all the way back to original sin Adam made. Therefore, when Adam and the woman disobeyed God, they became sinful human beings, and they died spiritually just as God promised. Their spiritual nature changed, becoming slaves to the sinful nature. Then after having children, these children shared in their sinful nature. We see this clearly in the story of Cain. Cain didn't need to eat the fruit. He was born with a sinful nature.
Right.
The Messiah must be sinless in order to be perfect sacrifice for all man's sins. In order for Jesus to fulfill this condition, he could not be born of a man. The Holy Spirit sires Jesus in Mary's womb, effectively removing Jesus from the sin of Adam. Jesus is a son of man through Mary, meaning that he lived as a man and underwent the same challenges we face, yet he overcame every obstacle and temptation. Perfect.
Right. So that completes Matthew chapter 1. And as I'm looking through this chapter again and kind of seeing the
Joseph
progression of it. Go ahead.
I was going to say Joseph had a pretty big task, or like just a weird situation.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
No
To like,
He's just like, I'm divorcing her quietly.
yeah.
No one needs to know about this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
too
I
mean,
weird
to
to
have,
explain
like-
to people. They won't believe me anyways. They just think she's a hoe.
Like how
That's
would
exactly
he,
right.
How
So
would
he's
he
like,
even have the trust to believe her like that? That would be insane.
Angels came
Yeah,
and told him.
exactly.
And that pretty much sealed the deal.
Can you imagine? It's like, seeing an angel tell you, it's just, okay, yes, sir. That's what's going on. I'm terrified
kidding.
now. Whatever you say, bro.
Pretty much.
For real, man.
Yeah, that's got to be a really, especially him, just like her being a Gentile too. It must have been like get this.
Mary?
Yeah, he probably was like,
Mary was a Jew.
she was?
Yeah,
I
he
thought
was
she
a
was a
Jew.
Gentile.
No, they're both Jews.
Okay, wrong on that.
Right. But that's such a good point because back in those days, it just showed the heart of Joseph too, because he didn't know anything, and he was just a guy. He had no idea if she was, sleeping with other people or not. And even if that was the worst case scenario, he still wanted to do it quietly.
Well, generally, that's how people make babies. So
Yeah, exactly.
he's probably like, she was honing it up over there.
100%. So, I
And
mean,
not
it
being
just shows the quality of his heart. Even when he was stuck with that at his table, that was the only thing on the table. My future wife is a hoe. He's like, I'm still going to divorce her quietly. I'm going to exercise grace, mercy. You can tell that this is a good father figure. He's already practicing grace and mercy on people who don't deserve it. Like Joe had said, if you have a baby in your womb and you're a woman, some guy ejaculated into that woman, and that's how it happened. There's no other way that came to pass unless it was supernatural. So it took that step of faith, and you can see that God chose these two people. Brilliant. Of course, he's God. These people are beautiful. So Joseph, even though we don't hear a lot about him, and it's kind of a bummer because I know we want to know more about the guy who was present for
Jesus' dad.
Jesus' dad.
It's got to be awesome.
And he was a stepdad in a lot of ways too. he was a good guy, even in the beginning. Even when he could have laid down the law and been, validated behind that law, he chose grace and mercy, which is
probably
cool.
good for him too. He probably didn't want to be like, yeah, this girl I just chose is pregnant, and probably make him look kind of
Well, he could have been
bad
spiteful.
too.
He could have cut her out. Back in those days, she would have been basically applied to the law for adultery, which is a serious deal. So she would have been put before the court. They would have, analyzed the whole thing. And she I'm not sure if during that time they were practicing stoning, although they did do it. Many times they would try and find a more convenient way of letting the woman, but she would have that mark on her the rest of her life.
right. Yeah,
She wasn't going to get remarried. She was done for.
That makes
in many
sense.
ways. Right. Okay.
Should we roll into Matthew 2?
Sure. Yeah.
let's do it.
That was quick.
Matthew 1's pretty simple. So
So the purpose of the Matthew 1, real quick, just a little recap, is all that genealogy is to show the Jews, because Matthew's a tax collector, he's a Jew. He's writing Matthew to the Jews to validate Christ through his bloodline, King David.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
the
right.
point of that, guys.
That's right. Substantiating Jesus' claim to the throne, being the son of David,
Fulfilling prophecy.
fulfilling prophecy. Exactly right. Okay, so Matthew chapter 2.
All right.
Let's dig it.
I
Do
can
you wanna go?
I can do it.
Okay.
After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked,
That's an easy one.
"Yeah, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he had asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem in Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will be shepherd of my people." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him."
Sneaky guy.
Sneaky.
Yeah, the thing about Herod, I learned it when I was visiting Rome, like some of the history. He was crazy.
He's absolutely
I think
crazy.
he killed, I think he killed a few of his own kids out of just suspicion that
sons,
they were like trying to come after the throne.
Yep.
Sounds
he
like
was-
a nice family vibe.
No kidding.
Yeah, so his actions
Dad wants to
here,
kill you.
his
bud.
actions here make sense.
Sure.
After they had heard the
Paranoid.
king, yeah, after they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed.
Me too.
On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. They then opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream to not go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route.
Dreams, man. Powerful all throughout the Bible. It's not that every one of your dreams means something, but God gives us dreams that indicate like what you should do, how you should do it. And I've always been fascinated by that.
Dreams are amazing.
Thinking about Daniel and stuff. Yeah, they are. Like you wake
Just
up
your
from
subconscious and just what can be. There's some tribes in South America that believe the dream state is more important than your actual
Than your waking
conscious
life.
waking state.
Yeah, I feel like the more you focus on your dreams, like I don't know if anyone's had this experience when you dream log, you become more connected with that space.
More likely to have lucid dreams.
Yeah, you are. And you can, it's really cool because it's almost like you wake up more refreshed because you're more connected with what that
Right.
is.
That goes into some of the psychedelics like DMT and some of those things that kind of put you into a dream state while you're conscious.
Yeah, a lot of people think of meditation, and it's like, well, what is that? Do you just let your mind thinking of nothing? Is that like even possible? Like seems like
more like just being at ease or
Right.
or surrendering.
But an important note is I think that God does speak to us through dreams, although I do think it's a gift. Like when you look at Daniel and men who are given the gift of interpreting dreams, even in the church. Like when somebody does have a dream, and they try to pull all these things together to make sense of it.
It's powerful stuff.
It is, and it's like the Magi. As we get into this, we'll learn about why the Magi were sensitive to the dreams and how they knew this stuff. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2. Let's dig into these notes.
Wait, we're not done, are we?
We're not done.
We
yet.
got
Are we
the
done?
flight to Egypt.
We got. They're
Are we?
running to Egypt still.
Oh,
Yes.
dude.
We got
Sorry,
a
dude.
little bit to go.
My bad.
Peace out to Egypt. Herod's on our track. Herod's coming.
So yeah, this is verse 13.
Cool.
When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said, "take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So he got up, took the child and his mother during the night, and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I called my son." When Herod realized that he had been outwitted by the Magi, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinity
Good guy, man. This guy
who were
is-
2 years old and under, in accordance with that time he had learned from the Magi. Then what he said through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. A voice is heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted, because they are no more. Wow. I can't imagine, like,
Just
genocide,
just,
of babies.
like-
This guy's the most favorite guy in
he's
the
got a
land.
special place in hell for that guy. He's gonna be sitting down like
out of
It was- and you know-
paranoia out of a child.
2-year-old.
It shows
Just
that,
shows, wow, the power of a generation. Like
yeah.
how powerful they are.
Well, they were
Those are
powerful men
babies.
too. The Magi, they held a lot of weight. So when they asked that question, they were very superstitious people back in those days. So the court heard it. It wasn't only Herod who heard it, and so that would incite unrest in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the return to Nazareth. After Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt
Another dream.
and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who were trying to take the child's life are dead." So he got up, took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus was reigning in Judea
That's Herod's son.
in place of his father Herod,
Yeah.
he was afraid to go there. Having been warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee, and he went and lived in a town called Nazareth. So was fulfilled
The ghetto.
what was said through the prophets, that he would be called a Nazarene.
Yeah.
Redneck ghetto people in Nazareth.
Yeah, them backwoods.
Backwoods folk.
Yeah, it's like go set him in there so he knows how seedy it can be. He's a man. Jesus needed to know the dark underbelly of the world. He needed to be acquainted with how. If he grew up in the courts, rich boy, he ain't connecting with nobody. He grew up with the poorer folk. He knew
And
love that.
how do we
Oh,
know that
yeah.
context on Nazareth?
We'll find out a little bit in the notes. Nazareth had that because it wasn't necessarily a rich spot. Like back in those days, spots near like trading spots like that, if they were near a road that had a lot of traffic going through it, or they were positioned in a bay,
Those to the side.
it was
in the
kind of
sticks.
it was literally in the backwoods.
Swamp.
Yeah. So it was like poor folk. It had the redneck feel. I mean, and I'm not trying to go and make
Small
fun
town.
of rednecks or anything.
Small town vibe.
But it's got that small town vibe.
no, I love it.
Yeah. and
That's
everybody's-
everything. We grew up that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all did now.
Yeah, small towns.
It's a lot of wisdom that you get growing in those kind of towns.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
Open up these notes.
these notes, baby. Let's get these
Chapter
notes
2
going.
notes. We'll put them on the screen as well. And they'll be linked in the description too.
Yeah.
Great.
Read along with us, guys. You can see how many words we mess up. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Let us know.
Here you been there.
Hooked on phonics, man. Messed me up, bro. Messed me up, bro.
Okay. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2, terms and people. So once again, we start off with the terms, defining terms. The Magi. Magi comes from the Greek word magos, where the English word magic comes from. Magos itself comes from the old Persian word Magupati. This was a title given to priests in the sect of ancient Persian religions. We can trace Magi all the way back to the time of Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel, about 600 BC. Pretty awesome stuff. Those guys seem like
They were powerhouses. They were like our Stephen Hawkings of the day, our scientific
Gandalf.
Basically, they were like the powerhouses.
I hope they had a staff.
They better have
when
beards.
They walked around.
Yeah, this word.
Yeah, man, they had to. They
10
had
feet
wisdom
tall.
beards. They had
God.
They had that going on. Oh yeah.
And all the way back to Nebuchadnezzar. So like these guys, they're not Jews. They're just wise men.
That's right.
That's
right.
really cool. Number 2, prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah was active as a prophet 626 BC until the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of Solomon's temple in 587 BC. He is often referred to as the weeping prophet because of his long-suffering and extremely difficult life of service.
Dude, I love Jeremiah. He's stuck. Oh man, like my favorite part is when he's stuck inside of a well. Like people got so sick of hearing Jeremiah because he's just trying to get him to wake up. He's like, you guys gotta wake up. And he wasn't saying anything like some of the other more forward prophets. He would just say it when people asked him, but it was always, bad news for them. So they stuck him in the bottom of
Get
a
rid
well,
of this
dude.
guy, dude.
Just laying in the bottom of the mud, just like sitting there like, God, you told me to say this stuff.
No
and
positive vibes
this
from Jeremiah.
sucks. Yeah,
Pure negative vibes,
his whole
bro.
life, bro.
People like, get this away from
Why I
me,
love
bro.
him, dude. I love him.
He's too
dude.
real.
Dude, he was so
Too
strong.
much
dude.
depression.
His
going on.
spiritual bench press was like 1 billion pounds.
Yeah, he's like a low dopamine master,
dude.
dude.
He needed nothing.
Could live in the
but
bottom
Lord.
of a whale.
Yeah,
Oh,
in the
a
well.
well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
You could probably do a bottom of a whale too.
Yeah.
King Herod, psychopath, completely paranoid, insane asylum. All right, Herod was a king of Judah from 37 BC to 4 BC. Herod was ethnically Arab, Edomians, descendant of Esau, but a practicing Jew. This led to his constant conflict with Pharisees who regarded him as a foreigner due to his Arab lineage. Herod is referred to as Herod the Great because of many building projects, but was more precisely a tyrant king who secured his rule through unthinkable malevolence, including infant genocide and killing several of his own sons. There you go,
There you
Mike.
go.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like, I killed everybody's sons. Let's even the playing field. I'll kill some of my own
Just
guys.
kill
It's all
everybody,
good.
and he'll be the only one.
I think
What a
that's
savage.
males at least.
Get rid of
It's like,
everything.
I'll take
And
all
just
the
building
ladies.
giant things for himself. Like this guy is major.
He actually
small
wanted to.
dong
He wanted to impress
complex.
Rome. He wanted to impress Rome, and the Romans actually picked him to spite the Jews because they knew that the Jews didn't regard him as a real Jew due to his Arab. And the Romans were great at this. They would always try and
smart, dude.
they would like to put like cracks in the
Undercut
government.
man, just
Yeah, all the time. If there were
Manipulators.
so that they had
Manipulate-
control.
control.
Oh, yeah. They knew
Smart
what they were
guys
doing, dude.
of
Yeah.
the devil. Herod Archelaus, son of King Herod. Archelaus ruled from 4 BC to 6 AD. Archelaus was tyrant king, like his father, responsible for having over 30,000 Pharisees killed.
Which is a
That is
huge
not
number
even
of
funny, but I'm
Pharisees.
just
No,
like-
that's a lot.
I didn't
of
know there was
Pharisees.
that many.
I think there was like 5 of them left after that. Like that was a lot of Pharisees.
It's eradication.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Pharisees killed in retaliation for sedition that began when a Rome golden eagle emblem was removed and destroyed by the Jews from their holy temple in Jerusalem.
So these Pharisees got together and they were pissed because the Romans put on their temple the Roman golden eagle, sort of as like this emblem, right? Yeah. No, they got so angry. And so he's stuck with these 3,000 or probably more, basically the entire leadership of the Jewish faith at that time, saying, you're going to take this down. Eventually, they took it down themselves. And, he went and killed a whole bunch of them. He's like, y'all, you just...
Babies to Pharisees, just like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, baby.
Like father, like son.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Rachel, one of Jacob's wives, the mother of Joseph and Benjamin, 2 of the 12 progenitors of the tribes of Israel. Rachel's father was Laban. Her older sister was Leah. Jacob's first wife, their mother was Adonai. That's a pretty name.
Isn't it? I like that one too.
Chief priests, descendants of the levitical priesthood, traditionally traced from Aaron, administrators of the temple's liturgy, buildings, and finances. So basically, priests.
Priests, yep. And they handled, obviously, they handled a lot of stuff. It wasn't just reading the Bible and preaching messages like the way we kind of interpret them. They handled money. They handled a ton of different things.
Right. Scribes acted as secretaries of state, whose business it was to prepare and to prepare and issue decrees in the name of the king. Very powerful and learned individuals. Those are your power wielders right there.
Mhm.
They're telling you what's up, making laws. Bethlehem means house of bread. It is located in the West Bank, which is part of Palestine's territories. It is the birthplace of Jesus and King David. Judea means land of the Jews. It is the mountainous southern part of the region known as land of Israel and Palestine, roughly corresponding to the southern West Bank and northern Negev desert in Israel. The region is named after the biblical tribe of Judah and associated with the kingdom of Judah.
Right. Super pivotal spot all throughout the Bible.
Yep. Jerusalem means city of peace. It is the capital of the ancient kingdom of Judah. Israel means may God prevail. He struggles with us. He struggles with God. He who wrestles with God. God perseveres, contends, triumphant with God. Israel was the name given to Jacob after he wrestled with God. Jacob wrestled with God the night before the day his brother Esau was to kill Jacob for stealing his birthright. Not surprisingly, Jacob's name means deceiver and grabber. When Jacob showed changed behavior and changed heart, God rewarded him with a new name and a blessing along with it. Israel is the name used to describe people as a nation descendant from Jacob. Yep, Esau kind of got done over pretty bad by Jacob. I never thought he was that great of a dude.
No.
I was like, this guy kind of sucks really bad.
That's the way it is with all the guys in the Bible. You know,
It's true.
It really is.
It's just like
Jesus.
your bro comes in.
Like, look at Paul.
He's just like got done hunting for the
name, too.
family.
He had to
He's
work.
just like busting his ass, and like he needs just some food.
You know
he's
what'd
your
be-
brother, and he comes in, and you're like, "Can you give me some food, bro? I'm about to die." And he's like,
yeah, but
let me
but-
sell me your birthright, and I'll give you some lentils."
and Esau
It's like,
probably
what,
thought,
dude?
You know,
We're family.
at that time it was probably thought of as like a joke, because
I would think so.
Yeah,
He's dying,
Well,
dude.
no, of course,
It's a
but
messed up sense of humor.
It definitely. But when he actually did get the birthright, he feigned his brother's actual. He had to put like fur on his arm because he's like obviously a little shrimpy loser compared to
dude, he didn't
Esau.
even have-
Esau is like a badass hunting the best stuff. He's a brawny dude.
Yeah, so he
You know-
used his motherly feminine
So-
tactics to get in there.
Yeah, he did. His
See
mom
this
actually
blind
suggested
dad.
the whole thing.
Yeah?
So he was mama's boy. Let's just leave it at that, you know. And
He had to work hard for his future wives, though, so that's maybe his karma.
well, he did.
Yeah, he did. He did work real hard for his future.
And then he got the wrong one the first time.
Yeah. He's like, he got Leah, man. It's like, oh, what?
14 years to get the girl you want. That's
Hey,
some dedication.
You know, and I think a
worth
cool
it.
thing to point out is like a lot of times
That's
when a
cool.
man has that transition where he transcends his old being, and we were born again, we had baptism. That's what we have. Back in those days, they would change your name. So your name would change. And so it's cool because you're not associating with that old person you were. Even Paul,
you
know, he had the
transcended
same
it.
thing.
You're given a new name.
Yeah,
a lot of
you
the
see
apostles
Jesus.
the
same thing. He's
new
like,
names.
you're this, you know, and that happens when they have that change of heart, which is cool. I kind of wish we did that now. That'd be kind of sick, dude. You know, for a lot of the people who have, you know, marked up pasts and things like that.
You
with a
can.
name.
You can change.
Oh, you can. But I mean, like as a tradition in
Yeah.
the church, it would be pretty cool.
It would be interesting.
Yeah. Except God's not going to name you. It's like,
Yeah, I get
Please
to pick
name
my
me.
own.
Yeah, pick your
pick
own.
your own name. Yeah.
Ragnar.
Go for like the oldest stuff. But like, there's a strange movement in the church these days.
Sam. Samwise.
You can only pick weird biblical names.
Nazareth means branch or shoot. During Jesus' time, it was a poor rural community made up of farmers that were looked down upon. It is located 15.5 miles from the Sea of Galilee and about 5.5 miles from the Mount Tabor. So.
And it would be cool to like go on a trip someday, guys, so we could actually see these places. But,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mikkel was saying that.
that would be great, man.
He's saying we could all go, and his grandma wants to do a trip there and do the walk. They have like the whole walk
Mhm.
Jesus did. The disciples go into like the sermon on the Mount
That'd
of
be
Olives
epic, man.
and just do the whole thing.
It's definitely on my agenda.
Yep,
That'd
someday,
be
guys.
cool,
It'd
guys.
be cool to go together.
Okay, let's rethink our nativity scene. We all know what that is.
Yeah, let's describe the nativity scene for those. Well, actually, let's just read
Christmas time.
Kind of talks about it. So let's
Right.
just- yeah.
Most of us are familiar with the nativity scene commonly seen around Christmas. The scene depicts a farm building with a newborn baby Jesus settled cozily in his bed, while Mary and Joseph look very pleased standing over him. There are animals calmly laying about, and 3 well-dressed wise men holding gifts, while a magnificent star shines overhead. It's a wonderful picture, but not entirely accurate.
As with most anything in life, right?
Romanticize it.
Yeah, you get movies.
There's also
everything.
some shepherds there that are
that aren't
usually
supposed. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Sometimes they're shepherds. Exactly right.
Oh, yeah. They should be right in there. A, when the Magi saw the star indicating the birth of Jesus, they began their journey to find him. Matthew says that the Magi came from the east, which confirms that they came from Mesopotamia. Journey from Mesopotamia to Jerusalem is around 700 miles, around a 6-month journey, considering the men's status and transportation available at the time. Considering the time it took for the Magi to make their journey, it's fair to assume that Joseph and Mary had a home of their own and long left the old farmhouse.
Right.
The Bible never indicates how many Magi made the journey to worship Jesus. We assume there were 3 wise men because of the 3 gifts they gave to Jesus: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. However, there could have been 5, 10, or even 100 wise men for all we know.
I like the 100 wise men. I like that.
They must have been really compelled to travel that far.
Well, they kept
700 miles.
Yeah, as we get into,
We're gonna go on a 6-month journey
for real. Like, and because we saw a star, and these guys were they were astrologers. That's where they gained a lot of their insight.
That's
back in those days,
Wow.
they're
astronomers.
Astronomers. Yeah, they had their versions of astrology too at the time. And there was culture wrapped up into it. There was prophecy. They had their own
They weren't
versions
Jews.
of it.
These were wise men.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Gandalfs.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, so why was Jesus born in Bethlehem? Bethlehem is about 6 miles from Jerusalem as the crow flies, which was probably a 2-hour walk in Jesus' day. Bethlehem means the house of bread, and it was best known in Jesus' day as the hometown of King David. That connection is no accident, of course. So to help us recognize the Messiah when he arrived, God told us beforehand that the Messiah would be born in David's hometown. That prophecy is given by the prophet Micah. Micah 5:6. But you, O Bethlehem, Ephrathah, who are too little to be among the clans of Judea, from you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler of Israel, whose coming forth is from old, from ancient days. So this is cool. How did the Magi know what the star meant? Which is like, yeah, how did they? This is super cool. I was fascinated by this. My mind was exploded into a million pieces when I read this. So it's like, this is crazy. Like, there's cool parts of Isaiah and you read about prophecy being fulfilled, but this was just like, holy cow.
Wow.
Holy Jesus, thank you, Lord. Okay, so the answer we find in the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. Daniel became a Magi when he was taken captive as a young Jewish nobleman by Babylon in 600 BC. God gave Daniel the ability to interpret prophetic dreams for the Babylon king. Daniel also wrote a prophetic book, the Book of Daniel, foretelling the Messiah's arrival in chapter 9. Daniel specified the year the Messiah would arrive in Israel, and interestingly, Daniel chose to write that part of his book in Aramaic, the language of the Babylonians. So for nearly 600 years, Babylonian astrologers had a book written in their own language that predicted the precise timing of the Messiah's arrival in Judea. Insane.
Wow.
They're not Jews, so why do they believe in the Messiah?
Daniel proved himself.
Yeah, he did.
He proved himself over and over again.
They knew that he was legit.
No, he was the best of the Magi's. He wrote the book on being the guy who could help the king with his dreams. And not only that, he was a governor. You know, he wasn't just a guy who was like, go to him when you have weird dreams. He taught them how to actually govern their town. He was an overseer, like, you know, basically second to the king.
Didn't he go in the lions? Didn't eat him? Is that him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he did some crazy stuff.
And his buddies, too, getting like going into a furnace.
Reshak and Abednego or something.
Yeah, that was a cool song we used to sing in like
Veggie
Sunday
Tales
school.
song.
Yeah, dude, I was just like, this is
hanging out in the hottest fire. We just keep cranking it up. And he's
Who's
like,
that
there's
third
another
dude?
guy in here.
Yeah.
They're not dying. They're multiplying.
I mean, that's written in their annals, as they say. So, I mean, that information was held in high regard
no kid.
because he proved himself,
Yeah,
right?
that's legit.
Okay, so stepping further into Daniel's story, we know that he eventually became the leader of all Babylonian astrologers. We must assume while Daniel was in charge, he taught his fellow astrologers to anticipate the arrival of the Messiah in the appointed year. We also know Daniel worshiped Jehovah while serving in the court. The Gentile Magi watched Daniel's ascent to power and the many supernatural events God worked through him. It was understood fully that the power of Israel's God was real and of his promise to save them by the Messiah imminent. So as Daniel's appointed year arrived, the astrologers began looking to the sky for a sign, believing in what Daniel taught them. When they saw the star appear, they were ready to follow and journeyed to Jerusalem to find the king. Baby king.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Why did the Magi go to Herod instead of directly to Jesus? That's a very good question. The Magi most likely only knew the prophetic words Daniel wrote. They hadn't yet read the words of the prophet Micah. They knew that in Judea the king would be born, but they didn't know exactly where. So they did the next best thing. Naturally, they go to the palace, as they assume Herod must know where his own successor would be.
I thought Herod was a nice guy. It's like, you grooming the next guy, taking care of him, right?
Yeah.
Murdering him.
Plot twist.
And all his generation.
What was the significance and purpose of the Magi gifts? This is a interesting one, too, because you hear a lot of sermons on this.
Yeah.
And they take it a lot of different directions.
True.
But
what are some of the weird directions you've
well,
heard?
I remember last year, I'd have to rewatch the sermons to even remember. They went into heavy detail what these compounds are and how they act. Like myrrh, we obviously know gold, but frankincense and myrrh we don't really know much about.
True.
But anyway, gold, we don't know how much gold they gave Jesus, but even a small amount of gold was precious. One gold Roman coin of that day, called aureus, was worth about 3 months' salary for a soldier or laborer.
That sounds
one coin, bro.
better than grabbing a bunch
That's about
of bills.
3,300 in today's money. So one gold, that's probably like 2-ounce coin.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason that Jesus' family probably received a considerable amount of money. They brought him gold because Jesus was their king, and kings traditionally receive gold.
I want to be a king.
Frankincense is a very expensive resin made from the sap of trees found in Arabia and Africa. When burned, it creates a strong incense. Frankincense was the main ingredient in the incense God commanded to be burned on the altar of incense in the tabernacle, from Exodus 30:34. A priest burns incense on the altar before the presence of God as a way of interceding for man. This gift shows us that the Magi gave Jesus frankincense because they had faith in Jesus as their high priest and intercessor.
Right.
And then myrrh is another very expensive resin spice that comes from the sap of a different tree. It is powerfully fragrant and used in perfumes and tabernacle services. However, its most common use was in making an anointing oil used on dead bodies prepared for burial. The Magi brought Jesus the myrrh as a symbol of his coming death, a death that would become a payment for all sin.
That's pretty
powerful.
Cryptic.
Yeah, there's not one thing in the Bible that doesn't have purpose, multi-layered purpose.
Yeah, like he's a baby getting ready for burial.
Yeah,
gonna start stinking
it's
anytime now.
It also shows that these guys knew a story. They were anticipating events. You know, they knew from Daniel that when they studied the Torah, the 5 books, they knew that there was a Messiah, a savior of the world. They knew that this king wasn't just a normal king either.
Obviously, he's gonna die young, or I don't know how long that frankincense lasts. But
you'll see.
Or the myrrh
let's
lasts.
dig in some more.
30 years. Probably last 30 years. It's resin.
There's another layer.
Another layer. Further purpose in the Magi gifts. When the angel came to Joseph after the Magi left, telling him to take Jesus and go to Egypt, he now had funds via the gifts to accomplish the task. There's nothing to indicate that Joseph was a man of means. Just like in our day, moving to another state in the middle of the night was very expensive. The pouches of gold coins and spices were easily carried and could be traded anywhere. The Lord in his sovereignty ensured that the family would be equipped for their flight, and he also ensured that Egypt would be willing to receive them. During this time in history, Rome had conquered Egypt, making it part of the Roman Empire. This allowed Joseph and Mary to travel there freely However, the Egyptian province was not under Herod's authority, so he could not enforce his own orders in Egypt.
Safe zone, baby.
Herod, you suck.
Yeah, he couldn't get him.
He
He's
had
like,
to fulfill prophecy, so he had to do what he had to do.
yeah. So he murdered everyone else.
And we're going to get into that.
And you still failed.
Can't come
Yes.
up against God and win, baby.
No,
you
you
gonna
just pull
fail.
180, 360.
God gonna be like, I'm
I'm
gonna take the nature of physics and just change it all, boy. I made all this stuff. It's called
can't-
miracles. They ain't winning, man. Sorry.
Yep.
Not sorry.
A few more facts on Herod. Based on historical records, we assume Herod was suffering from kidney disease and gangrene, which can take some time to kill a person. Herod knew he would die soon, and that this was a highly unlikely that the new baby king would be old enough to take Herod's throne before Herod died naturally. Herod couldn't have been worried about his sons inheriting the throne because Herod had 3 of them killed. So Herod could have left well enough alone and never been threatened by this new king.
Sounds like
Right.
Hitler when he's killing all the Jews, and like, if you probably didn't kill those Jews, you might have won the war. Like, instead.
Like he put so much work into murdering people instead of fighting an actual battle. Like you're insane.
I guess murdering is
Crazy.
a lot of fun once you get into it.
Well, he's obviously miserable. So I mean, he's dying slowly. The dude's falling apart. He's got a nasty disease.
gangrene.
And
Ugh.
back in those days, they would feed you like their doctors sucked. Obviously, okay. So they're like
Trying some
giving him probably
potions.
stuff that's making him worse. You know,
Get
It's
some of that myrrh on that
dude, he just
gangrene.
hates his life, man. So
Crickets.
I mean, no doubt that guy's in a rough spot, dude. But that's the point. Is like he was so crazy, and on the he was on death's doorstep, and even still, he was like he could have died in a year, and so this baby, that was like. He's gonna be the king. It's like, dude, just let him. You're gonna be dead. But by the time this
I'm
thing's
sure he
like
didn't want
10
to
years old,
admit that was going to happen.
no, he
Yeah.
probably had the doctors. You'll live
Delusional.
forever.
Yeah,
You're gonna be fine.
Probably did think he was immortal.
That's right.
It's true.
He's immortally.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
Extra crazy.
final spot here is examples of typology in Matthew chapter 2. Before reading that, how about you explain typology?
Typology, great
Good
term.
idea.
So typology goes the distance to describe what we see happen in many different stories and why these stories kind of sound the same. So like when we see Jesus and the sacrifice, we think maybe of Joseph, and the way he was went to Egypt, and we see that same typology pan out. Typology is a word that says basically in this story, the same thing's going to happen in this story, and the same thing's going to happen in that story, and there's all these there's these parallels that happen to help us understand that this is a divine document.
Same,
So-
but different.
Same, but a little different. And the ability for this stuff to happen naturally is like a 0. You're talking about exponentially crazy numbers for any of this stuff to actually happen in this typology to make sense. So typology is a word that describes continuity in these stories and helps us to deepen our faith by saying, wow, these stories happened a long time
Reoccurring.
apart. Yeah, exactly.
We reoccur, baby.
So, yeah, here are some examples of that. Pharaoh commanded that every male Hebrew child be killed by casting them into the Nile. And here we see another king, Herod, ordering every male Jewish child be killed in Bethlehem. Moses was rescued from the death sentence by a mother taking him out of the Nile, while Jesus would be rescued by his mother taking him across the Nile. When Pharaoh died, it was time for Moses to return to free his people, Israel, from bondage in Egypt. In Matthew, Herod dies, so Jesus' family is told it's time to return so Jesus can free his people, Israel, from bondage to sin. In both cases, an angel of the Lord said to return because the one seeking your life has died. Moses returned with his family, just as Jesus returned with his family.
Right. So
Cool.
and that's why the Old Testament, although, it's not the funnest thing to read, but if we read
Depends on what parts.
yeah, exactly.
Parts are like
Leviticus. Let's
straight
get
up
into that.
Game
Oh,
of
yeah.
Thrones going on, man.
Yeah. But I think the point is that we put time into the Old Testament, even though it's kind of boring sometimes, but we get acquainted with these stories and we see the timeline panning out so that this timeline is going forward. And we're seeing God communicating in these stories over and over again. And that's what's so cool because he's describing sacrifice, putting faith, being near death, all is lost, darkest before the dawn, and then he grabs you up. God's divine providence for that moment continues to take care of you, no matter how bad things are. There's a king that's going to try and kill every single person in your village, You have rich magi come and say, well, here's a bunch of money. You got an escape. Solid. You can go to a brand new place, be able to look after little baby Jesus and be good to go.